Continuing our discussion on cells, we're going to discuss how cells are able to get particles or things like this inside the cell, and also how they're able to get them back out of the cell. So this here is our cytoplasm, and this is the fluid surrounding the cell. There are several methods that cells utilize in order to do this, and we will go over 3 of them. The first method of cell transport that we're going to talk about is called active transport. So when you see the word active, think energy. Okay, this is the method of cell transport that requires energy. So it's movement of molecules that requires energy. Alright, and it uses the proteins that are embedded in the cell membrane. So here's our cell membrane. Here's the protein. Alright, so these are channel proteins. So in order for this channel protein to work, it needs ATP or cell energy in order to get these molecules inside of the cell. Alright, some other forms of cell movement are called endocytosis, which is where they're able to take in materials into the cell. Endo, inside, by infoldings or pockets, so that kind of just like sucks them in. In exocytosis, exo, think out or outside, it releases materials from the cell in much the same fashion. Here is a quick animation to show you endocytosis and exocytosis. So the string here is like the cell membrane. You see, oh look, it's engulfing it, it's endocytosing it. Oh, and then it spits it out, exocytosis. Alright, here again, endocytosis, it's going to form a little, membrane around it, suck it in, and then once spits it out. Alright, and it spits usually out something different. Alright, diffusion. This one is huge. This one does not require energy. Alright, it is the random movement of particles from an area of high concentration to low concentration. Meaning it goes from an area where there's lots of them to an area where there's just a little bit of them. They like it when it's less crowded. Actually, it prefers to be equa, or an equilibrium on both sides. Facilitated diffusion still does not require energy use, except this time we're using help. So facilitate means to help. So we're using help in the form of these proteins. So once this protein finds a little match for its receptor, then it'll let that molecule come inside. So again, it's still a movement from high concentration to low concentration. It goes from an area where there's a lot to an area where there's just a little bit. But since it's being facilitated, it uses these proteins in the cell membrane. Alright, so woohoo! Osmosis! Osmosis is the diffusion of water, meaning water is a movement of water from high concentration to low concentration. So we're looking at concentrations of water here. So if we take a look down at this diagram right here, you can see that we have more water on this side because we have less solute or less particles. Since we have more solute on this side, that means that we have less water. Therefore, the water will move to an area of high concentration to low concentration. Some terms you need to know when describing solutions. The first is isotonic. Alright, this is where we have concentrations of water and solute are the same on both sides. Iso means same, tonic means strength. Okay, and if you remember from our last unit, a solute is something that is dissolved in water. So things like sugar, salt, Kool-Aid, so on and so forth. Alright, so hypertonic is a solution that has a higher solute concentration. Hyper, think hyperactive. Hyper means above. So just like hyperactive means above active. So hypoactive or hypotonic is actually the opposite of hypertonic. It's a solution that has a lower solute concentration. So hypo means under. In each of these osmosis practice problems, I'm going to show you the direction that water goes, and I'm also going to tell you about the solution, if it's hypertonic, hypotonic, or isotonic. Okay, so we're looking at, this is a little cell here, and then this tells you the concentrations in the solution. So we have 90% water inside the cell, 85% water outside the cell. So osmosis states water goes from an area of high concentration to low concentration. So water is going to leave the cell, so it's going to shrink. The cell will shrink. Alright, and since we have higher solutes in the solution, that means we have a hypertonic solution. Alright, our next problem. Remember, we're always looking at the water. Alright, so there's 40% water inside the cell, 90% water outside the cell. We know water goes from an area of high concentration to low concentration. So here the cell is going to grow. Alright, now let's look at our solute concentration to describe our solution, which is this stuff. So there's less solutes in solution than there is in the cell. So it's under or it's hypotonic. Alright, our last one. So we have 75% water inside the cell, 80% water outside the cell. Water goes from an area of high concentration to low concentration. Alright, so again, our cell is going to grow. Alright, and let's look at our solutes. We have 20% in the solution, 25% inside the cell. So our solution is under our cell or hypotonic. Alright, so here we are comparing an animal cell on the top to a plant cell on the bottom. What happens when it's placed in a hypotonic solution? Alright, so when an animal cell is placed in a hypotonic solution, that means that there's less water inside the cell, more water outside the cell. So water is going to go inside the cell and it will cause an animal cell to burst. Since a plant cell has this cell wall on here, it won't exactly burst, but it'll be really firm. Okay? An isotonic solution, meaning equal amounts of water and solutes, you can see we have the arrows going back and forth. That means it's in equilibrium. And it's in equilibrium in both the animal and the plant cell. Alright, a hypertonic solution, where there's lots and lots and lots and lots of salts and not a lot of water. So let's say like a salty solution of some kind. It has more salts than the cell does. Less water out here than is here. So water is going to move out because it goes from an area of high concentration to low concentration. And it will cause this animal cell to shrivel up. Okay, it will cause the plant cell, this is the green stuff, is the cytoplasm. It'll cause that to shrivel as well. And on that note, here is a video showing exactly that. A plant cell put in a hypertonic solution. Okay, so this is Elodea. This is a plant, an aquatic plant, and you can kind of see the chloroplasts in here. And oh, look, it's starting to do it. It's starting to shrivel inside itself because it's put into this salty solution. So water is leaving each of these cells. And you can kind of see this one is the best one that does it. And they all will follow suit here shortly. Alright, so here's this one is going next. Oh, so cool. Look at them all shriveling up. Real quick review. Passive transport or no energy required is our diffusion and facilitated diffusion, where particles go from an area of high concentration to low concentration with no energy. Facilitated diffusion does, however, use channel proteins. Active transport needs ATP or energy. Alright, still goes from an area of high to low, but it's actively being pumped. And osmosis, diffusion of water. Bam.